Good morning, y'all. Welcome into another edition of DNVR Rams Live, presented by our friends at Branded Bills. Head to brandedbills.com. Use that code BBDNVR for 15% off of your order. Got a lot going on this week. Football is in the full swing of things, which I love. I was just talking with our awesome producer, Alyssa, before the show about how excited I am to get into a rhythm of things, to have game week, to have a predictable schedule, showtime, all of that. Camp is always kind of a whirlwind, but it is obviously great to have stuff to talk about. Tomorrow's media day, so I'll be going and getting a ton of interviews. I will feature a lot of those on the next couple of shows. We'll have an opportunity to speak with assistant coaches, with anybody on the roster. It's always a really great setup from CSU Football, and I'm certainly appreciative of the access and the opportunity to get to know some of these guys. You know, some of them, Braden, Andrew Lorich, some of these guys I've had an opportunity to get to know a little bit over the years just from having spoken with them more frequently. But there's so many new faces on the defensive side, even within the staff. That's really what a lot of fall camp has been for me, just trying to get in a rhythm and trying to establish and develop relationships with all these new people. It's always a bit of a process. Basketball too. I mean, it's just a lot of new faces after having a lot of stability there for quite some time. John in the Toyota chat wants to know, how has BFN looked in practice? I mean, you can only take so much away from the reps we're seeing. In particular, we don't get to watch every second of practice or anything like that. I thought, he's thrown the ball well in the portions that I've seen. Is in a knee brace at the moment, but he's moving well. I think he took a bit of a shot in that first scrimmage. But yeah, I mean, I've been pretty honest that I have fairly high expectations for him. I think he's one of the top two quarterbacks in the league, coming in. Obviously from an experience standpoint, it's just him and Madsen of Boise, but I think he's got significantly more arm talent. But there's a lot of pressure on him this year to really take things to the next level. Mile High Minute says, was just watching a podcast that predicted CSU to go 5-7. 3 of the bottom 5 teams are new Pac-12 members. There might be some axes to grind from some folks out there. That's not how I'm going to approach my coverage throughout the season. Just going to try and shoot it straight. I do think some of the departing teams for the Pac-12 are, some of the better teams, but I also think there's some teams like Air Force and UNLV who are going to be right there in the mix, who are obviously staying in the Mountain West. Wyoming should be much improved on both sides of the ball. But I'm cautiously optimistic going into this year. And one of the things we're going to talk about today are some of the reasons why. I'm going to give out 25 predictions for CSU football in 25. Not going to lie, I stretched it a little bit thin. I don't think we're going to be able to continue increasing the number every year if you want to have even remotely realistic predictions and have any chance of getting a couple of them right. I weirdly hit a couple of them right on the head in basketball season. I mean, predicting them to be up and down in the non-conference slate and then get hot. And even I predicted them to make the NCAA tournament by winning the Mountain West tournament for the first time in 20 years. Not going to lie, there was a lot of luck involved in all of that. But I did feel like it was a logical route that they could end up taking, and it just happened to play out that way. Hopefully, some of the predictions I have on the football side of things will be just as spot on. We are going to play some interviews here with Kojo Antwi, the Ohio State transfer, as well as Jahari Rogers, the SMU transfer. Give you an opportunity to get to know those guys, both of them. I think if CSU is going to reach its potential, those guys will be a big part of it. Kevin Young says Kevin Lytle projected 7-5 this morning. History says he would be pretty spot on based on the majority of the last decade. I mean, I think anybody who is still feeling some skepticism at this point, particularly with how the season fizzled out at the end last year, I've said it a lot of times. I do think that Jay's done a lot of good, but the way that the things played out in the end, not making the Mountain West title game and then getting schlocked, by Miami of Ohio in the Arizona Bowl, it didn't help anybody's cause. And it really was a big glass of cool water on some positive momentum. So I think, that's a fair prediction. I'm a little bit more optimistic about them just from the level of athleticism that they have on the roster right now. But again, like I'm not going to say anybody who's kind of like, we'll see. I think they'll be all right, but not great. That's probably pretty fair based on everything we've seen over the last decade plus. Couple of observations for you in terms of camp. Taj Bullock is definitely going to be a part of this offense. Maybe not quite as much as we're seeing him right now, but they're using him in a lot of creative ways. I compared him to Taysom Hill when we had Norvell on the show. I think they are going to get the ball in his hands in as many ways as possible. He's a phenomenal rusher. He's going to definitely get some of those wildcat type carries that they were giving Avery Morrow last year in short yardage scenarios in the red zone and stuff like that. He's listed at 6'3", 225. He looks every bit of it, but they're throwing him the ball a little bit. I think at some points they'll pull out some plays where he throws it. Not somebody you would want to be QB1 just in terms of his lack of consistency as a pocket passer over the course of his career. There's a reason that he's never thrown 200 passes in a season, but he is a guy that's, rushed for 8 touchdowns in a year. He is a threat, and they're going to find ways to take advantage of his skill set. I'm really excited about the possibilities with him. The athleticism of the secondary stands out for sure. I was talking about that with Kevin at practice yesterday. We're seeing corners win some of these one-on-ones far more frequently than we did in the past. If you were going just based on the one-on-one reps with the receivers against the DBs the last couple of years, you would have assumed that this team was scoring like 50 points a game. But I think it was kind of the reality of the lack of depth that they had in the secondary and the lack of athleticism. They really did a good job of getting bigger and stronger and faster in that secondary. I think they're going to be fun. I think they're going to make some plays. Finally, I've just kind of been trying to look around and see who's stepping up from a leadership standpoint. Braden's been more vocally, not just critical, but just been more vocal in general in practice. Some other guys, though, Tanner Morley is definitely taking a big step up there. I would say Aiden Hector has really taken a more vocal role than we've seen from him in the past. All of that is great to see. But I did want to give you guys an opportunity to get to know some of these transfers a little bit before we got into those predictions, have a little bit of fun. If you're watching live on YouTube and you wouldn't mind giving us a thumbs up, I certainly would appreciate it. Keep your questions, comments rolling in the Toyota chat. If I don't get to them right away, we can always come back around at the end of the show. But let's kick things off here with an interview with Ohio State transfer Kojo Antwi. I've been excited about him since we found out that he committed. I loved that he stuck around and decided to stay on the roster. He entered the portal last winter, but he didn't leave the team before the end of the national championship run. Had nothing but good things to say about his time at Ohio State. And it's pretty remarkable that he's even on the field right now, considering he, tore his Achilles last winter. We'll see how much he's able to participate early on in the season. I do think that he will play some in the non-conference slate, which was definitely not expected coming into camp. So encouraging regarding his current status, regarding his recovery, post Achilles injury. But here's an interview with Kojo Antwi, and hope you guys enjoy it. How are you adjusting to life at CSU, and how do you like it so far?
I like CSU.
Yeah.
It's a great environment, great city of Fort Collins, great people overall.
What was it about the program that appealed to you? I mean, obviously you're coming from national championship winning program. Why did you want to play at CSU?
Coach Norvell and his history with coaching receivers and his history in the NFL. We talked before I committed in his office about him using he used to coach Marvin and on the Colts and stuff like that, and I was teammates with Marvin Harrison Jr. at Ohio State, so it was pretty cool to me. I don't know, he just told me that I had a really good opportunity here to play. So
what stands out to you when you look back at your time at Ohio State?
What stands out? Just everything that I've learned, from the receivers to the coaches. It was an unreal experience. Just non-stop first-round receivers, just all the advice that they gave to me, just hanging out with them on a daily basis was pretty cool.
It seems like, given that you chose to stick around and play out to the playoff, that you had a good relationship with all those guys and wanted to see it through.
Definitely. I did enter the portal before the playoffs, and they advised me. Well, I wanted to stay as well, and they advised me to stay so I could, just keep everything warm and stuff like that before I left. And I mean, I wouldn't. I don't regret. I don't regret just staying through the playoffs because we ultimately won a natty, and just the experience, just going to the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, and the natty at the end was pretty cool.
That's got to be pretty surreal, like when you guys win and the confetti's falling down and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was definitely surreal. Just when the clock hit 0, I was like, dang, like we really made it, so it was cool.
Obviously coming back from the injury can be a tough process.
Yep.
Just where would you say you're at right now?
I'd say I probably have like 80%. I know it's gonna take a while to get to 100%, but I'm feeling pretty good every day. Every day I'm getting better. So.
What would you describe as your greatest strength as a receiver?
Just my speed. I feel like the knowledge of the game is also at a high. I feel like I can read defenses and know what's coming and stuff like that. So.
How big is it to be able to be out here and get these practice reps, especially given that it's a new quarterback and just building that rapport?
It's just huge, just being out here after my injury in general. Definitely throwing with Braden on the side and just getting that connection together is pretty cool. But I'm just happy to be out here with my teammates.
You mentioned Jay Norvell's past and all the receivers he's produced, Nevada, CSU, even beyond that. Who's kind of standing out to you in this receiver group? Because it seems like, maybe there's not the guys like, he's a first-round pick right off the bat, but I mean, there's some talent out there.
Jordan Ross for sure. I also like Taylor Neer. They're really good receivers. They're really polished. They got speed off the ball, and they get in and out of their breaks. And I really like how they're making plays, for sure.
What's your vision for the offense this year?
Our vision is to beat everybody. Just win the Mountain West and be an explosive offense, average 300, 400 yards a game.
It was great to meet you, and thank you so much.
Sure.
Really appreciate Kojo giving us a couple of minutes after practice. It was hot out. We didn't want to go on for too long with a couple of these guys. We're also going to play an interview with Jahari Rogers here in just a second. We do have a question from John in the Twitter chat. Kojo to miss one game as of now, correct? That goes in line with everything that I've heard. I don't expect him to play in that Washington game. I think it makes more sense to ease him into things. Norvell on day one said Kojo's at about 90%. Kojo telling us there he's more like 80. When you look at his legs, there's definitely still a pretty significant gap in size of just muscle definition. That makes total sense, coming off the Achilles injury. But it's great that he's out there. He participated in the scrimmage last week. He's making plays. He's not in non-contact or anything like that. But I would say expect him to make more of an impact, at the end of the non-conference slate versus the beginning. And I don't know if we can say definitively like this is the timetable. He's already certainly ahead of schedule, but I don't expect him out there week one. I suppose we shall see. Just keeping in line with wide receiver talk before we play the interview with Jahari Rogers, SMU transfer cornerback. John also asks, any chance in getting Coach Whitted back? Don't believe he is on a current coaching staff. Whitted was dismissed by Utah this past season, which is a bummer for him. I've kind of been all over since leaving CSU, spent some time with Wisconsin, was on the Packers staff for a while. Phenomenal receiver coach, really cool dude. Produced a lot of great players at CSU. The one thing I will say is Finley, who's the wide receiver coach right now, is great at his gig, really knowledgeable, has taken a bigger on-field coaching role, I would say, over the years too. Like I would say, and this could be me speaking ignorantly, but just based on what I know about the construct of the staff and in previous years, he was brought in for his recruiting prowess, has got a ton of connects in Southern California. But I think we have seen him over the years take a bigger role and just in terms of development and stuff like that, working with the guys. I think he's a solid receiver coach, but you never know. You never know what could happen down the line. It's certainly possible that Alvis could return to Fort Collins someday. Kevin says having 100% healthy Kojo ball out in the second half of the season would be sick. It would be a huge boost. I mean, I've got high expectations for a couple of these guys. We're going to talk about it in the predictions. Tommy Maher, Jordan Ross has gotten a ton of love over the last 18 months or so. Certainly passes the eye test when I've seen him in practice. But I'm excited for this receiver group. I've said it a few times now. I don't know if they have a Rashard Higgins, a Michael Gallup, a Torrey Horton in terms of somebody who's going to go out there and put up 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns or something like that. I do think top to bottom, though, they're more versatile. They've got a nice diverse group of receivers this year with, having some guys that can attack underneath, having some bigger bodied guys that you can go vertical with. They've got a ton of speed. I'm really intrigued by this group, especially when you factor in the tight ends. Josh wants to know, before we take a break here and then play that interview with Jahari, we've mentioned positions of strength for CSU. Is there a position that you feel is weak for the Rams? It's a really good question. I'm still a little skeptical of the interior defensive line. I do think they went out and got bigger, which is encouraging. They certainly needed more size after the spring. The depth of the D-line as a whole is maybe a little concerning for me. I do like the linebackers a lot. I'm pretty excited about the secondary, but that defensive interior, we'll see. I think they've got some guys that are more like tweeners. Gabe Jones does look really good. I think Lorich is someone that could play inside or outside for you. So it's not to say that they don't have any talent there or anything like that. But that is something that comes to mind just in terms of it being more of a question mark for me going into the year. Let's take a quick break real quick. We do need to shout out some awesome partners. Then we will play that interview with Jahari Rogers. Then I'll get into my predictions for the season. But let's shout out those partners real quick. Cake Mortgage is the business owner's home mortgage partner. What they do is specialize in non-QM loans. If you're a regular employee of a company, you get a W-2, your income shows on your tax return. Traditional lenders love this when you go to get approved for things like refinancing, home loans, business loans, all of that. It's really clear cut. It's really simple. It can be more complicated if you're an independent business owner. By maximizing legitimate business deductions and expenses, business owners can reduce their taxable income. That means they can keep more money in the business. It also means, though, that their tax returns show little income. Most lenders, they don't love this because they can't see it, and then they're going to deny you when you go to get a home loan or something like that. Cake can get business owners, homeowners approved, by validating your cash flow through bank statements, certified profit and loss statements on your business tax returns. It's great for creative professionals, contractors, business founders, tech entrepreneurs, anyone who kills their own meat. Head to the link in the description to get started. Cake Mortgage Corporation, equal housing lender, NMLS number 1734623, licensed in Colorado by the Division of Real Estate. Terms and conditions do apply. Just like the Rams need home field advantage at Canvas, just like the Hoops team needs home court advantage at Moby, you need a home floor advantage, and our friends at Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today has flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. You might wander aimlessly for about 20 minutes before you even find an employee. Who knows if they actually know what they're talking about? No disrespect to anybody working in the big box stores, but sometimes that's just how it is. You might be in gardening one week, you're going to be in a paint section the next week. These aren't people who live and breathe flooring like you get when you work with Empire. It's just a whole different ball game. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DNVR listeners can get a $350 discount when they use the promo code DNVR. You heard me right, a $350 discount with that code DNVR. Restrictions do apply. Visit Empire Today/DNVR for full details. All right, let's play this interview with SMU transfer Jahari Rogers. Was at one point committed to Nevada in the offseason before flipping to CSU. I expect him to be one of the starting corners out there this fall, but I'm really intrigued by all these guys. Lamondre Joe, CJ Blocker had a couple of really nice plays in practice yesterday, but here's an opportunity for you to get to know Jahari Rogers, one of the newest Rams, and a guy I have big hopes for. What sold you on CSU, and why is this a place you wanted to wrap up your collegiate career?
Really just the community and the high level that they play at. I mean, the Mount West has a lot of good players that come out of here every year, and I just wanted to show my abilities and my talents with a contender team.
Is that kind of what sold you? I know you were committed to Nevada at one point. Just think you maybe have a higher ceiling here?
Yeah, just being able to really come around a group of coaches who want to get me to the next level and can help me get there too. I mean, Nevada is a really good place as well. They compete at a high level, but I mean, you can't beat Colorado.
A lot of moving parts on defense this year. I mean, it was a new coordinator, a lot of new players. Just how do you feel like everything's coming together?
I like it a lot. I mean, Donut, he's been in the defense a long time. Coach Summers, he's had success at Western Kentucky. So, And Coach Nigel, I mean, he's a young coach, but he's really coaching up the guys, and so I can't really wait to see what we do this upcoming season.
How would you describe playing in this defense? I mean, it seems really aggressive, up-tempo.
Yeah, fast and physical. I mean, when I got on the phone with Coach Summers, he was like, he wants it to be a war every time we step out on the field, and that's what I like. I want it to be a challenge for me, but also it's an opportunity to show my abilities in every way, tackling, covering, like really every way. I don't want to give out everything that we do, but yeah.
You know, I've seen you and Kojo kind of seeking each other out, running a lot of reps against each other. Why is that, and what's your relationship like?
Kojo played at a high level at Ohio State. He's coming off an injury, but every time he steps in front of me, I know he wants to work. He's played against really high caliber defensive players, so every time we go out there, we compete, and he enjoys it, and I enjoy it as well. I know it's going to be 100% reps, and I like to see that. That gets me better, and I'm getting him better as well.
How talented is he? I mean, I think a lot of people are surprised he's even out here given the injury.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like, at first we wasn't thinking he was going to play at all.
Yeah.
So when I seen him out here, I'm like, am I good to touch you at all? Like, he was like, yeah. So he's full speed guy, and he has a lot of speed, a lot of twitch, and he has really good hands too as well. He's played at a high level at Ohio State. They've won multiple national championships, and he brings that championship mentality to the team as well.
You know, this is a defense where obviously they're going to be really dependent on the corners to, you know, play solid man coverage, want to pressure a lot. Is that, you know, a challenge you guys embrace? I mean, or is that, can it be a little bit awkward at times, just knowing how much is on your shoulders?
No, you have to embrace it. I mean, playing our position is the hardest position on the field besides quarterback, but physically it's super hard as well. And you really embrace those challenges. Like, each and every week, you know it's on you, and you have to rise above that standard. But also, if you want to get to the next level, you have to be able to cover. So that's what I like about the defense. I get to show my coverability each and every week, knowing that I'm going to be in the opportunity to do that.
Who's impressing you so far?
Offense and defense? Or
either way, just anybody that's standing out to you.
Shoot, the quarterbacks are really stepping it up too. I mean, just the growth they've had over from the spring to now. Kojo as well. Like I said, I didn't think he was going to even be able to practice. He has no red jersey on. He's out there with the guys tackling, being full speed, and also really all the safeties. The safeties are really being able to play at a high level. They're moving fast, they're being able to tackle, but their coverability is a lot higher than what some people would expect. And that's why I like that. AJ Nolan has surprised me a lot. He has a lot of athleticism. He goes high, points the ball, and I can't wait to have him behind me and really going to pick six and things.
Just what are your goals for yourself this season?
Shoot, I'm just blessed to be here. So being able to play full speed every single play, every single practice, just being able to know that I've had a lot of reps in my career, but at the same time I have to be a leader. I mean, that's my next step. But being able to show that I can tackle, that I can cover, and that really, I'm one of the best in the Mount West and in the country.
They're deceptively a lot of experience. Like, you look at it on paper, you know, one returning starter, but it's a lot of guys like you, Lamondre, CJ. I mean, you've been in other programs. You've played a lot of football in your career.
Can you ask that question?
Just like, is there more experience on this team than people maybe realize?
Yeah. I mean, Lamondre Joe has had a lot of snaps, like a lot, and people don't understand he has a lot of career interceptions. When I first got to CSU, when we was chopping it up, he was like, I have 7 career picks. A lot of people don't even have 1. So at this point, he has a lot of playing experience. He's played at high levels. I mean, Missouri State plays against North Dakota State and those top FCS teams. So I mean, he's a sleeper, but he's probably going to be one of the best corners in the Mount West as well, with me and also CJ Blocker.
What is your relationship like? I mean, how you guys came in together, you know, but a lot of new faces, but also probably kind of adjusting to life together, if that makes sense.
I mean, we have to be a team first. And so we kind of all knew that. Actually, being older guys, we knew that we had to be a room too. I mean, we have to be a leader, and when we have to have hard conversations, we are able to make those conversations and not make it personal. I mean, each and every day I tell those guys, make sure that I'm running to the ball and make sure that I'm making at least some plays every single day, because that's the standard for the defense. We have to make plays and we have to run to the ball. And if we're not doing that, the standard is not set each and every day.
I know it's hot out here, so I'm going to let you get going, but just what stands out to you about life at CSU and Fort Collins? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I love the city itself. When I first got here, people was like, go up to Horsetooth. And when I first went up there, I was kind of driving up there. I was a little shaky at first, but I love the community. I mean, you see people, they got stickers of CSU on the back of their cars. You see Rams everywhere when you go into restaurants. So it's very high ceiling for us. And so we just want to make the community proud. We want to show everybody that we are back when them 2000 teams was winning championships, and that's the only thing on our mind right now is winning a championship. We have really good teams in our conference, and we have to compete each and every week, and we're going to have to show everybody that we are one of the best teams in the Mount West.
Thanks, Charlie.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Really appreciate Jahari as well as Kojo for giving me a couple of minutes after practice. Both came off really articulate to me, humble, gracious individuals who, appreciate the opportunity that they have at CSU. Both of those guys, very highly acclaimed recruits coming out of high school, 4-star prospects, offers from all the big time programs. And I always appreciate guys like that who have been a part of the Flash and know what it's like to be Mr. Hotshot. And now all they really want is an opportunity to prove themselves. I think there's a lot of guys on this roster who are chomping at the bit to show what they can do. And I think if CSU again is going to reach their potential, those are the guys who you are really going to need to hit on are some of those key portal additions. And based on what we've seen throughout the spring as well as the fall, I'm cautiously optimistic about this team's potential and about CSU building off of what they accomplished last year, taking things to the next level, having it be more of a launching point and not a ceiling for the program under Norvell or anything like that. I've tried to make it pretty clear. While I am on the more optimistic side of things, I do understand why there is still a large contingent of the fan base who's in wait and see mode, who are more on the skeptical side. I think that's fair. I think the history says you guys are accurate. And with that in mind, let's get into, the predictions I have for the season, 25 predictions for the 2025 Rams. We addressed earlier Kevin Lytle, who I respect a ton, does a great job covering the team for the Coloradoan. He went on the radio this morning and did his official predictions, had CSU at 7-5. I think that's right around what the floor should be considered for this group. I do think that there's probably between 2 and 4 coin flip games that really could go either way and really determine your season. A couple weeks ago, we went back and we ranked some of those really pivotal matchups. I think the games like Washington State, UTSA, some of those September matchups in particular, and then some of those early season conference matchups, as well as, the end. There's just a couple of 2-3 game stretches there that I think are very much going to swing the season one way or the other, make it more like, a 500, 7-5 season, or more optimistically, more like, a 9-3 type season, maybe even a double-digit win season, which we haven't seen in over a decade. That sure would be something. I guess with that in mind, let's just jump right into it. We'll go big right off the bat and go with a record prediction. I'm going to say CSU finishes 9-3, which is higher than I have had them finishing in a long time. I do feel like I'm going out on a limb a little bit here, just based on the history and I've never covered a team that won more than 8 games. I got to work for the team under McElwain when they had that really fun run in 2013 and 2014. But I think with a third-year starting quarterback, I think with the level of talent and athleticism that they have at the skill positions, as well as on the defensive side of the ball, I'm optimistic. I really feel like going out and getting a big-time kicker is worth potentially a win. I mean, I was really worried about special teams coming into the year. I feel pretty good actually going into the season. They've got a couple of guys who could be in the mix as far as the punt job goes. I put my money on Hansen at the moment, but I'm intrigued by this team, and I think if they take advantage of the schedule the way that they can, I think also if maybe some of the teams in the league who are getting hyped up, who I'm not quite as high on, the UNLVs, the Fresno States of the world, if they come down to earth, I just like CSU's chances of being able to take advantage of the schedule, but we shall see. I mean, obviously that would be contingent on CSU winning the type of games that they've found ways to blow in the past. It's been a long time since the Rams have started the season with any type of fire. And if they're going to reach that 9-win mark, I think they have to be above 500 after September. I would be the first time they've done that since 2017. I'm going to say they do it. They went 3-2 in 2017. If they went 3-1 this year, it would be the first time they had a winning record after September since going 3-1 in 2014. When Norvell was on the show last week, he talked about the importance of a hot start. I've talked about it both in the greater sense of just fan support, but also just from a momentum standpoint. I think when you're starting every season, losing, 50-3, and, you're 2-2 at best, maybe even more like 1-3 after the first month. You just put yourself in such a big hole that you then have to climb out of if this team is going to reach its potential. I think starting hot is going to be big, and I think winning against some of these teams who you should be at the very least comparable against. I mean, Washington State is going to be your league mate next year. UTSA, that's a great program who I have a ton of respect for. It feels like the type of game that over the last decade, CSU probably finds a way to lose. I pointed out last year that I felt like, San Jose State, New Mexico, certainly, Air Force in the Springs would be in that conversation. If they can win a couple of those coin flip games early, get some momentum rolling, I don't think from a talent standpoint, there are any teams in the league that you should be shaking in your boots over. Boise is the clear-cut favorite for sure. Going into Boise at that stage of the season, late November is going to be really tough. I don't have CSU winning that game, at least as of now, but I do think that CSU should be right there in the mix. I think they have a nice opportunity, and we're going to keep this rolling. I'm going to keep the predictions going. I'm going to talk about some of the things I expect them to accomplish. Some of the individuals I think are going to shine. We'll talk about some stat predictions, all kinds of fun stuff. Keep the questions, comments rolling. Whether you agree with me, whether you think I'm crazy, it's all good. Just keep it fun, keep it light. That's the fun part about the preseason, right? Is the hope is still alive. Let's shout out a quick couple of our partners real quick, and then we'll keep this rolling. I want to talk to you real quick about Game Time. Nobody makes it easier to get tickets to your favorite events, particularly last minute, than our friends at Game Time. If you're going to the World Cup, you can actually get 10% off exclusive zone deals for FIFA World Cup matchups next summer. Check that out. But make sure you're always checking Game Time out. This fall, maybe you're not planning on going to a CSU game. It's late night Friday night, maybe even Saturday morning. The Rams have some momentum, and you decide, you want to know what? Let's get up to FOCO. Let's go check out a game. Make sure you hit up Game Time. I promise you, they will have the best deals around. Their curation function makes it easier than ever to save more on sports, comedy, theater, etc. They offer all-in pricing, which is really convenient. You're not going to get hit with a bunch of last-minute fees that you don't expect coming. You can get a panoramic view of your seat so you know exactly what you're buying. Take all the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time? Coors Light encourages you to never lose your chill. Life is going to test you. There are going to be those moments where you just want to punch a hole in the wall or, throw your tool that's not working across the yard. Still never forget one time my grandpa's, his yard trimmer cut his leg, shot out the wiring, and he hucked that thing like 45 feet. It was awesome, but if we're being real, it wasn't very productive. And that's what I'm trying to avoid as I get older is those little moments of aggression that just don't do anything but make the situation worse. It's all about how you deal with the curveballs that get thrown your way. Put yourself in a chill state of mind, go out, get some exercise, do some yoga, do your deep breaths, do whatever you got to do. Then when you're kicked back, when you're chilling, when you got the game on, crack open an ice cold Coors Light. When the mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smooth finish. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door. Visit CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. All right, we're going to have to fly through some of these because I know that I can be a rambler, and the fact that we're only 2 predictions in with less than 30 minutes left in the show is not a great sign, but I think you get it at this point. I'm pretty optimistic going into this year. That has a lot to do with the experience they have under center. That has a lot to do with the level of athleticism and explosiveness that I'm seeing out there. They need a lot of things to come together. They got to win the type of clutch games that we have not seen them do all that frequently over the last 20 years, really going back to the end of the peak Lubick era. I think things this year are going to be fun. I'm really optimistic about what could happen. So I'm going to say CSU will crack the AP poll for the first time in over a decade. I think if you start 4-5-1, that puts you right in the conversation. You win a couple of games there, I think you've got a nice chance to crack the top 25 for the first time since 2014. I'm also going to say that the Rams will beat all of the OG Mountain West foes on their schedule. We've got a lot of them. playing Air Force, Wyoming, San Diego State, New Mexico, and UNLV. If they're going to be a 9-win team, I don't really see how you can lose any of those matchups. If you're curious, 15-22 all time against San Diego State. CSU is 17-7-1 against UNLV, 45-25 against UNM with 13 straight wins going back to 2009. And then they're 22-39-1 against Air Force, 59-51-5 against Wyoming. I am going to say that en route to a 9-win regular season and the first Mountain West Conference championship game appearance for CSU, they will beat all of those teams. CSU has not won the league since 2002. They won it 3 times out of the first 4 years. Technically, were co-champions in 99 with BYU and Utah. They won their first outright title in 2000, won again in 2002, have not won the league since. I don't have them winning the league this year. I do have Boise winning the league. But I am going to say that the Rams will make the Mountain West championship game, play Boise State for the second time in a couple of weeks on the turf, which will be not a ton of fun. But I like CSU's chances. They've really only even been in the mix in 2014, 2017, and 24, you could say. I mean, they were 1 game away from playing their way into it, but 14 was probably the most realistic last chance they had. Even that 2017 team, like, I'm not sure they win the league, even if they make it. Who knows? I don't think the gap between Boise and everybody else is as superior as it once was, or as significant as it once was. They're not quite as superior as they used to be. Combined a couple statements there. But I like CSU's chances to be right there in the mix this year. If they are going to reach all these goals, that means, you're having some success within the league, but you're also beating some rivals. So I'm going to say, this is a bold one that makes me nervous, but I'm going to say the Rams will win a pair of trophy games for the second straight year. They are going to beat both Air Force and Wyoming, win in Laramie for the first time since 2015, beat Air Force in Fort Collins since the first time since 2015 as well. So we'll say they beat them both in consecutive seasons. I think you got to go back all the way to like 2000, 2001 type range to find the last time that CSU did that. I think Air Force is going to be much improved. I think Wyoming is going to be much improved, so that it does make me nervous. I think just based on the way those teams competed at the end of last season was a testament to the quality of coaching that they have in those programs. But if you are going to be one of the real contenders in this league, you can't be scared of teams like Air Force and Wyoming, who should be bowl teams, who should make the postseason, but are definitely not in that caliber of contending tier, at least coming into the season, I would say. I'm going to say CSU leads the league in sacks this year. I think they're going to play really aggressive. That's probably going to lead to a mixed bag in terms of results. You're going to give up some big plays if you play as aggressive as they will. Hopefully, though, it also leads to a lot more chaos, a lot more havoc, a lot more turnovers and tackles for loss and sacks and all that. I really like the talent they have at edge rusher. I was bummed to see Kennedy McDowell leave the program because I felt like he was really going to come into his own as more of a true outside rusher than, a defensive end. But it is what it is. Evans is going to be a stud. I think some of the other guys they brought over, Paul Tangelo is going to be really productive. Kenyon Aggers is in line for a big season. And even some of the guys that they have at backer, I think are going to be productive in some of those pass rushing scenarios. We'll say CSU leads the league in sacks this year. I'm also going to say the Rams, when they get to the postseason, they're actually going to win. They're going to win their first bowl since 2013. That one is particularly bold when you look at the history of the program. Even Sonny had some struggles winning bowl games. They were going against a lot more legitimate opponents. I mean, you look at the bowls he was playing, it was Kansas State and Michigan and teams like that, not, Idaho State and Idaho and Marshall and Miami of Ohio and teams like that. But hey, again, I'm leaning into optimism while I still can. We'll see how the season plays out. I think this offense, again, maybe doesn't have the star power of a Torrey Horton or in the backfield. I don't think you have somebody who's going to put up Capri Bibbs type numbers. But I also think that's not a bad thing. I think it's because you've got a lot better depth than you've had in previous years. So I'm going to say that at least 5 different players will score a rushing touchdown this year. I don't know if anybody gets to 10 or anything like that, but I think, Justin Marshall's going to rush for a touchdown. Jalen Dupree's going to rush for a touchdown. Braden probably scampers for a touchdown at some point. I feel pretty good in saying Taj Bullock's going to rush for a touchdown. That's already 4. Keegan Hollis has looked good in camp. We've heard big things about Lloyd Avant and his potential, although I think he's going to be more dangerous as a returner and like in the scat game and stuff like that. But I'm going to say 5 different players rush for a touchdown this season because I think CSU's got a lot of different guys they can get in the mix. You know, that's maybe not even that insane to say. You could probably say 6 or 7 because if they do something like an end around or something like that with the receiver, I just think it's a given that you'll have multiple backs and probably multiple quarterbacks based on the personnel that you have on the roster right now. Off of that, I also think 4 different position groups will catch a touchdown this year. So that's saying, you know, running backs and receivers, that's obvious. Tight ends, I think Taj Bullock is going to catch a touchdown. That's what I'm saying. So I think 4 different position groups will catch a touchdown this year. Yeah, as Josh says in the Toyota chat, you know, Jordan Ross could go for a 80-yard sweep. Like I run that stuff on the NCAA games all the time. I love it. Keeping it rolling here. We still got like 15 to go. I think at least 3 pass catchers will have 500 plus yards and 4 plus touchdowns. I went bold initially and was going to do 5. That might be a little rich, just being realistic. But in terms of, you know, players that could be in the mix for 500 plus receiving yards, Tommy Maher, Jordan Ross, easy picks. Tay Lanier, potentially Kojo Antwi. A lot of guys, I mean, even the tight ends, you know, Jackson Warren and Rocky Beers, I think are both in that mix. And as far as touchdowns go, again, probably not going to have somebody go for 12, 15, something crazy like that, put up Rashard Higgins type numbers. But I do think that, you know, each of these guys scoring a touchdown every 3 games is fairly realistic. If both the tight ends live up to who I think they're going to be, and if the receivers are even, you know, remotely productive, I just think that's a very attainable goal to shoot for. As far as who's going to lead the team in rushing, I'm going to say it's Jalen Dupree. I'm a full-on Jalen Dupree stan at this point. I have maxed out the amount of stock that I've taken out. I went to the bank, tried to get a bigger loan. Hey, I want to buy more Jalen Dupree stock. They wouldn't let me do it. They're like, you've got to chill. I just think he's a stud, and I think he's in line for a big year, and that has nothing to do with me doubting Justin Marshall or Lloyd Avant or even, again, Keegan Hollis. I think if he could just stay healthy, like that dude makes plays in practice. I think Dupree, though, is the most complete running back the CSU's had in some time. And I just think that he's really in a perfect position to make a major leap this year. I think he's going to get a lot more red zone opportunities. He's a strong runner, gets low to the ground. He's physical. But I mean, he's dangerous in the open field too. And I think if you can lean on the physicality of his game and wear defenses down, it's only going to benefit somebody like Justin Marshall, who benefits more along the perimeter and out in space. And, you know, maybe isn't a 20 plus carry type back. He's not going to be that bell cow back of the 90s and 80s. Very few guys are in 2025, to be fair to him. But I think it benefits everybody within the offense if Dupree is that lead guy. I think it's only going to open up things in the play action game. I think it's going to make things easier on Marshall. I really like this rushing game. We got a quick comment here that says 3 rushers have at or above 500 to 700 rushing yards. That'd be something if 3 did it, but it's not impossible, especially if, you know, Taj Bullock breaks off some long runs. Like, who knows? It wouldn't be shocking if he flirted with 500 yards. Again, we'll see how much they actually use him. You know, if it's based on what we're seeing in camp right now, like they're using him a ton, but some of that might be health stuff too with some of the other guys. I'm going to say Braden will throw for 4,000 yards this year. 5 might be a little ambitious because I don't think they're just going to completely abandon the run game, and I don't think they should. But I think we do need to see the offense be more consistently explosive, particularly the passing offense. If CSU is, I mean, even if they're going to be like a 7-8 win team, I think it's going to have to coincide with Braden have a nice year throwing the ball. He's in his 3rd year as a starter. No, you don't have Torrey out there, but you do have talent. You've got a nice group of pass catchers. You've got a staff that believes in you. I mean, he's been the guy basically since he took the reins from Clay Mill, and the staff's never looked back. I don't think they should have looked back, but you get what I mean. Like, they put a lot of faith in him. Norvell's basically attached his CSU future to him. It's up to Braden to take things to the next level. And I'm going to say he does that by throwing for 4,000 plus yards and 20 plus touchdowns. I don't think he needs to throw for like 30 plus 40 touchdowns for this offense to be really good, because I do think they've got a lot of options in the red zone with how they can run the ball and get creative with stuff like that. I just think we need to see a much more aggressive approach offensively. And if Norvell is being, forthright about what he expects the offense to look like, then I think we are going to see a more aggressive approach based on what we've seen in camp and based on, everything that we've heard from the players and coaches going back over the last month or so. All right, we've got some more predictions to keep rolling here. Again, keep those questions, comments rolling. Let's shout out our last partners, and then I will wrap up here with the rest of the predictions for 2025. Trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA. For generations, Toyota's built durable legends destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado. Whether you're conquering off-road trails or hauling the weight of the world, there's a Toyota truck that's just right for you. Check out the Land Cruiser. Check out the Tacoma. They're both sick. They've got 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, like the 4Runner. Can't go wrong with a classic like that. They've got more low and zero-emission vehicles combined than any other automaker to give customers numerous choices to reduce their carbon footprint. 16 hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. Again, though, Toyota SUVs take command on the road and on the trail. It's what makes them perfect for Colorado. You can take them, drive around downtown, bring them up to Old Town. Maybe you want to hit the slopes or go out to the western slopes, something like that. Toyota has a vehicle for you. Toyota is a proud partner of CSU Athletics and the official vehicle of DNVR. Toyota, let's go places. Whether you need snapbacks, truckers, fitteds, beanies, or tees, Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. Got a couple of Branded Bills here on set. Appreciate them sending me a couple so that I can show you the awesome options that they have. And these are only two of them. I mean, they've got, 20 plus options for CSU for everybody. They've got like a Colorado line, the state of Colorado, not talking about the Buffs. Start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel that you need. They've got a partnership with CSU as part of their campus collection. Head to brandedbills.com. Use that code BBDNVR for 15% off of your first order. All right, let's keep it rolling here. Where are we at? I just had BFN throwing for 4,000 yards and 20 plus touchdowns. I'm going to say Tommy Maher will lead the Rams in receptions. The guy's just always open. I've yet to see him run a poor route. I've yet to see him drop a ball in practice. This is a too lofty of a comparison, so it's not perfect, but it just reminds me a little bit of like David Anderson back in the day. This guy is a technician out there. He is always open. He catches everything. No, he's not Richard in terms of his speed or explosiveness, but he runs well. He's shifty in the open field a little bit too. He's got some elusivity to him. I'm really excited about what Tommy Maher can be in the offense this year. I'm going to say he leads CSU in total catches. Flipping things over to the defense, I'm going to say Owen Long will lead CSU in tackles. He's put on like 30 pounds, and it's all muscle. Guy looks great. I have been hyping him up going back to last winter. I think I even voted him preseason all-conference. That's how high I am on him. I'm really excited about what Owen Long can be this season. Donut, I'm going to say we'll record a double-digit sack season. I already said earlier that CSU will lead the league in sacks. I think if that's going to happen, the star of that unit, the headliner of the group, that is Jaquez Evans, is going to have to really shine. And I think he has that potential, man. There's a reason that he was voted preseason conference player of the year a couple of years ago in this scheme under Summers at Western Kentucky. Go back and watch the film if you don't believe it. And he looks the part. Ever since he's come in, he's looked great. He's been a leader. I'm really excited about him. It's been a tough couple of years for him. I think he really explodes onto the scene this year and plays his way into being, like a day 3 pick next year, something like that. I'm going to say Isaiah Hankins will have multiple kicks of 50 plus yards. Going more specifically, I'm going to say he hits a 55-yarder. He's got a big leg, particularly at altitude. I think he's going to shine. He's about 70% in terms of accuracy for his career. And anything above that in the collegiate ranks is solid. It's not the NFL. But he's got the big leg. And I think, in the thin, cool air, that is going to be a big advantage for CSU. If you would have seen the kicking in spring, you would understand why I am harping on that so much, going into the year. I really think it's one of the most significant things that CSU did this past offseason. if the Rams have the start that I think they're capable of, if they go on to be a championship level team, you would assume that there would be some progress in terms of Norvell and his contract. If they have that hot start, he's going to get the deal that he wants. He's got leverage at the moment, given that he doesn't have a buyout. Now, if things start to go south, that puts the leverage more in CSU's corner. But at the moment, Jay does have leverage coming off of an 8-win season. If they start hot, knowing they don't have that buyout, I'm going to say he gets an extension done before November. So, by Halloween, that's when the deal is going to get done. Again, I'm leaning into optimism, but I do think it will get done at some point. This one's a bit of a shot in the dark. I did ask Weber about it on the show. He had no comment, but let's have some fun. I'm going to say CSU would debut a new alternate uniform. If I had to guess, a throwback of some sort. Maybe you lean into like the old yellow and green, Freedom Bowl type stuff. I had heard that was something that had been designed with Under Armour back in the day, and then COVID slowed things down. Maybe we get to see it this year. That'd be pretty cool. I'm going to say CSU will top 50 points in a game for the first time since 2017. They did it 3 times that season. We haven't seen them do it since. 42 is the high watermark for the Rams under Jay Norvell to this point. If this team's going to be a legitimate contender, then you would assume, they would really put it on against a team like UNC, who if we're being realistic, I think CSU probably overlooked a little bit last year, just given that it was the week before the showdown. I did think they were maybe holding some things back for the purpose of, not giving it away. Then it just turned out that the first 3 weeks of the offense were Norvell. I don't want to say he was scared, but like he was not willing to open up the offense at that stage of the year, especially after Torrey got hurt. But I think this year, if you're going to be the type of team that we all hope for, that I'm saying CSU is going to be, then they are going to have to earn some style points in a couple of these games. And I think you've got a couple of opportunities here to really put it on in terms of points scored. UNC comes to mind. Fresno should be solid. They hired a defensive-minded coach, but I don't think talent-wise defensively they're quite where they were a couple of years ago. New Mexico, some games like that. But I'm going to say they do it. I'm going to say they score 50 points for the first time since 2017. Ideally, they do it more than once, but while winning. You don't want a 2017 Boise scenario where you scored 52, but you gave up 59. Hopefully it's more like, you hung 55 on somebody and the game was over before halftime. All right, the last 5 predictions that I have for 2025, and I appreciate everybody for rocking with us this morning. If you've got any questions, comments, etc., keep them firing. I'll get to as many as I can. I am hosting the Avalanche show after this at 12, so we can't go long like we do other times. But again, I'll get to as many of those questions, comments as I can. I really appreciate everybody for supporting the content. I really am stoked for football season to be here. If you were listening closely in that interview with Jahari Rogers, one of the people that he highlighted was sophomore safety AJ Noland. I think he will be a fan favorite by the end of the year. He has had a couple of interceptions in practice that really stood out. His vertical, his explosiveness. It's not something we've seen from a CSU DB in a while. And as exciting as all these corners are, and I'm very intrigued by all of them athletically, I think AJ Noland might be the biggest freak in that entire secondary. He's a stud, and if he lives up to his capability, him and Owen Long, there's going to be potentially tough guys to hang on to. Hopefully, we're having success. I just think they're going to have some interest because those guys are for real. Jackson Warren and Rocky Beers will combine for 8 or more touchdowns this year. The CSU record for touchdowns by a tight end in a season is 6. Dallin Holker did it. Kevon Cartwright did it as well. They've only had 10 over the last 3 years combined, and 6 of those were Holker in 2023. So it's been an area that's been lacking. I think it's hurt Braden's development. I think it's hurt his production at times, not having that dependable guy in short yardage scenarios in the red zone. I think they've got a pair of them. I think they're really good. I think they're going to be a big part of the offense. Say they combine for 8 or more touchdowns. I'm not saying either guy is going to break the record, get to that 7 mark, which we haven't seen anybody do. But I think combined, hoping for 6 to 8, that's very realistic based on the talent level of those two guys. I'm going to say the Rams go undefeated at home. If they're a 9-win team, they're pretty much going to have to be 9 or better. I don't see a way in which they get to the Mountain West Championship without running the table at home. If you lost to Washington on the road, that's one thing. You could probably afford one conference loss, and then if that's the case, you probably put your money on it being Boise at that point. But you got to win the home games if you're going to be in that mix, and if you're going to be the type of team that the fans want, that John Weber wants. I mean, how clear has he made it, going back to last winter, how important it is for CSU to not just be a team that's, in the conversation, but be a team that strikes while the iron is hot and really capitalizes on the moment and, makes some noise and is a contender and gets to championships and makes a name for themselves on the big stage like the basketball program did. But it starts at home, and Jay has done a good job of making CSU far more competitive at home these last 2 years than what we have seen. I think they're 10-2, 10-3 over the last 12 or 13 or something like that. But you can't have any duds like you did last year against CU, even UTEP, man. Like, those games were just brutal. Make some noise, earn some style points, and make Canvas the type of sick atmosphere that everybody envisioned when that gorgeous facility was built. The last two I have here, and again, we probably stretched it a little thin going with 25. The students will get a proper field storming. Haven't had one since 2014. Technically stormed in 2018 after the Arkansas win. Technically stormed after the Boise State comeback in 2023. That was nothing like the students storming Hughes in 2014, where you have a sold-out stadium. It's the fourth quarter. Everybody's still there. Crazy comebacks are one thing. I'd like to see the Rams win a thriller and we get a proper field storming at Canvas Stadium. The students are due. To this day, one of my favorite experiences as a CSU student was that 2014 homecoming game against Utah State. You'd played some tough games against them the couple years before, so that was certainly a factor in all of it, but it was just such validation. CSU football has arrived. It was really the only time it's felt even remotely like the Lubick era. I really want that for these students to get that experience and to fall in love with CSU like I did and so many others did. A lot of students kind of got shortchanged the last decade, but I'm hoping that things are turning the right direction in that regard. Finally, I'm going to say CSU will sell out at least 5 home games. If you were, a team that made a conference championship, that won more than 8 games, that did all the things that we've, said they could this year, you would think that the fan support would be there. I do think performing well against, Washington, earning some style points against UNC would help the cause a little bit for some of those, UTSA, Washington State type matchups. You got Hawaii on homecoming. Homecoming's always going to be a great crowd. Air Force, if you're in the mix at that point, that would be a tall, order to win, to sell out that crowd, because you're going to have the students on break, but we'll see. If this is the type of season we're hoping for, that would be pretty dang cool to see. But those are my 25 predictions for 2025. Maybe should have kept it at 20. Probably went a little bit longer than we needed to, but people seem to be into it. The engagement's been awesome in the Toyota chat. I'm excited to get some feedback after the fact as well, once people listen on the audio only side. I do want to say kudos to CSU Football and their We Over Me video series. Was pretty cool. I was honored that they featured some podcast audio in episode 1. That meant a lot to me. I love that behind the scenes type content, Hard Knocks, Last Chance U, anything where you get the great combination of, like hype and music and practice scenes. And there's not always that much substance to it, but if you wrap it up and film it in a cool package, I just think it's really cool. And I think it's great to see the program doing those types of things, not just with football, but on the basketball side as well. It's been a long time. That stopped after the grind. And I think it's so huge for the program, the type of exposure, getting people excited, all of that stuff. Fresno State has named E.J. Warner their starting quarterback, so that's who we will likely be seeing in Canvas. Kurt Warner's son started at Temple last year. I think he started somewhere else before that. He's a guy who's got like Jake Plummer stats. He's going to throw the ball up. He's going to throw some touchdowns. He's going to throw a lot of interceptions as well. I can appreciate a quarterback like that. They're fun to watch. And the last thing I'm going to say is a shout out to Mike Sanford and Valor Christian High School Football. I've been covering college football, high school football in this state for, over a decade. Mike Sanford is the first head coach to individually reach out to me and invite me to, some scrimmages and stuff like that. I've never really understood why more coaches don't try and do stuff like that. Honestly, have not rooted for Valor much over the years. They've always kind of felt like the big evil empire. Sanford's my guy, though, so I am rooting for his success. I'm happy for him. I do think they'll be very good. But shout out to them. And hey, if you want me to support your high school football program, it doesn't take much. Just reach out to me, and I'll probably root for you after that. I'm going to try and catch some games up here in Loveland and Fort Collins. I've been missing it. There's just something about those high school matchups that really hits on the sentimental side of things for me when it comes to, fandom. I romanticize all that stuff, community and sports and it being something greater than just the game itself. But anyways, I don't want to ramble on too much because I can put myself on another tangent. And like I said, got to get going here. Stay with us. Rock with us on the DNVR Avalanche Show if you've got nothing else going on. So much love to our amazing and wonderful producer, Alyssa, behind the scenes. Much love to all of you. Thank you for listening to the DNVR Rams podcast presented by Branded Bills. Head to brandedbills.com. Use that code BBDNVR for 15% off of your first order. Much love, y'all. Always proud to be. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.